Welcome to the cuckoo's nest. there's a long explanation on why we intend of calling it the cuckoo's nest. It could be called something different, but right now we're going with the working title of this episode. It's going to be called the cuckoo's nest. Today we have our second guest. From last time it was Alejandro Shin, my friend from Fuller. Our second guest is also from Fuller Theological Seminary, the greatest seminary in the world, visiting with me at Miracle Land. And please give a warm welcome to Joshua Songhan No.
Hi, my name is Joshua Songhan No. Yeah, my Korean name is Songhan and English name is Joshua. Yes.
What I wanted to find out more was about your recent completion of your chaplaincy program.
Right.
I remember when I was at Fuller the last semester or last quarter, I did the internship. Other than church that I was serving at, it was another additional internship through Vitas. If you see, this is a book that they was provided for free. Living with Grief, Diversity at the End of Life Care, and Vitas. Anyway, it was very, very educational. And I just heard recently that you finished the program and you're waiting to get responses from various places. So why don't you just share with us a little bit about that experience?
Yeah. Before I share about CP program, clinical pastoral education, let me share about how I get there. So I resigned 2017 January from Antioch Presbyterian Church, and I was looking for next journey. But in my heart, there is a core gift that I kind of realized was like a pastoral counseling. And I already knew that like CP program is a part of like field education in the Fuller Seminary. But you know, once I know that, but there is some fear that I'm not enough to go in there, because I really wanted one side of my desire. I really wanted, but I was like waiting. And 2017, around like August, I got a phone call. I had a good friend of mine, and we talking about the next journey about myself. And he suggests, why don't you call Methodist Hospital, and you might contact with him, and then we will see. And right away I sent the email to supervisor in the Methodist Hospital Arcadia, and the supervisor just responded quickly. And then I just, wow, this is maybe God's moment, and I wrote all my essays, and I entered in the CP program. The funny thing is, as soon as I enter in the hospital setting, I feel like that is my home. Like really, I found my vocation in there, and I just started clinical education from that time, 2017 September. Yeah.
So just to clarify, the program that you finished is Clinical Pastoral Education, also known as CPE. What did it entail? How long was the duration, and what was in the curriculum? What were some of the courses that you had to take for the completion of CPE?
Yeah, basically, they require MD program, and once you finish or in the middle of seminary education, I think you can apply. The length of CP unit is one unit is 400 hours, which is full time, 8 hours a day, from Monday to Friday. If it takes like 3 months, like almost 10 or 11 weeks program. So there is a supervisor. Basically, you go visit the patient by patient, and you learn the pastoral skill, and more like you know who you are, what's your self-awareness, and how you engage with the patient with your strengths. So I think it's a great chance you can jump in if you have some heart for those who are vulnerable and sick and powerless, and you can try out whether you will fit in there. I highly recommend the CP program during your ordination program. Some denomination like PCUSA and Methodist require CP program before you get ordained. Yeah.
Thank you. Were there any During the training, were there any special books or material that you came across that you found very helpful? Like a kind of a eye-opening work? Anything like that?
You know what, the most attractive thing in the CP program is actually it's not about studying from the book. I think people who is dying, people who are sick and powerless, you go visit, and I consider as they are my kind of, I don't say like book, but they are kind of through the conversation, pastoral encountering. I learned more. I think in my life I have learned a lot of patient care ministry as well as my self strength. So I consider as like field education itself is a lot of learning process. Yes.
So I learned we shared during conversation before this that you had some interesting experiences as far as in the area of your faith when you were actively being mentored during your internship. You had some supervisors,
Right.
and you had worked within an interfaith kind of context. And when you were sharing with me these things, I was actually quite intrigued. I was very interested, and because within our faith, Christianity is necessarily an exclusive faith. And so my question would be, how does someone like a chaplain doing a CPE or doing the clinical process, how do you maintain your Christian identity, and how do you approach these other faiths with the appropriate due respect?
Yeah, I think that's a really great question. I'm a Christian, and how much, as a Christian, how much you extend your theology, your pastoral identity to the patient care, and the setting that where I was in is a lot of interface context. For example, second unit, I had 2 Buddhist chaplain, and we share our common value, and I share my value as a Christian. And what happened is now I have kind of more learning process as a Christian. I have a brotherhood, and God sent me to here, and I listen to them. I kind of feel like okay, how much I can extend my theology to them and as listening to them. But what I found in the interfaith chaplain, I feel like I feel more close with Jesus personally, because even though it's very different theology, but there is some area that I have not known of God, but through engaging with other religious background, now I've truly found what is a what does it mean by Christian in a personal level and more intimate level through the conversation with them. So I think it's a great chance to talk with other religious background. So for example, 300 hours is actually clinical visit. 100 hours is all like we engage on the supervised by the supervisor there. So it's great chance to conversation what's the difference between my theology and their theology, and their belief and my value, things like that.
You were sharing with me your experience in the arena of interfaith, how you have to work with Buddhists and Muslims and other religious affiliations. Can you share with me a story of when you had like an actual interfaith scenario?
I can share one story that I had experienced. I have 2 chaplain in my second unit of CPE. One day, the family members, Buddhist family, family's loved one passed, and what happened is okay. They wanna be comforted by Buddhist monk, and it happened to go with the Buddhist monk together in the room. And then what they need is the Buddhist monk is praying a mantra in front of that body, and family member was right there in the bedside, and I was like little nervous. Oh, what's going on? As a Christian, is it okay to be here? I was concerned about my theology at that moment. But at the same time, okay, what about I believe in God. I want to pray to God. And while he is praying mantra, and which is I didn't understand what he said, but I pray tongue. Or I'm praying to God silently. I'm just praying for God to comforting the family. So that was like one moment that I can share that interfaith chaplain. How does it look like interfaith chaplain in the midst of like a crisis?
Just recently, you had a visit. You had a visit with a person who just passed away. Would you like to share a little bit about that experience, and then kind of, without mentioning any names, invite us into this process of grieving and how does a chaplain's function and role begin in that time?
Yeah. I think one of challenging as chaplain, on-call chaplain, and hospice care is I always facing the unknown. So I don't know where I'm heading to, but I'm entering their very intimate space, where is house, sometimes nursing facility. So I'm preparing my heart with facing the unknown. So I don't know, I don't have any agenda as I enter into their house. But in this case of my BJ was they grieving properly. They already expected, and it was a short visit. But what I can tell is, wow, this is a great privilege. In the middle of the night, I entered to the family, and I kind of see that they're grieving, and I was a part of their family and helping and comforting their sadness. I think that's great process, and it's still quite very. I cannot explain, but you gotta taste it through the CP.
Would you care to share just briefly what it was like when you went in there? You went in really late, and you came home really late at night after you were done. Your actual visit, because you gave some general ideas what it's you going there and comforting them. What did you do during the hours when you were visiting your last death visit?
Oh, okay. Maybe death visit is more about the family care. In this specific visit, my role as chaplain is sometimes it is after they lost their loved one, they feel very chaotic and they feel really grieving, so they don't know what to do. So what I do is I go there and connect with a family member, asking the story of the loved one. So I compassionately listen to the story, as well as there is some task that they need to arrange the mortuary service. So I think that's my job, and I connect with the mortuary and set up the arrangement. And during that time, I can gently ask, is it okay to stay with you if you need it? Or if they are fine, they want privacy, then I can leave from that time. So it's kind of very depends on the family's grieving process. This particular family was already accepted grieving, so it's not necessary to stay longer at that time. So I kind of see that their need, and I left pretty much a short period of time. Yeah.
Cool. Thank you. You did highly recommend it for people that might have a calling, that kind of a calling for end of life care, palliative ministry. You did make a recommendation for them to pursue that vocation. There's a need. Now, I wanted to just ask you one last question, because we're running out of time here. But have you found that you're Korean, you're ethnically Korean, we can all hear and tell, and so have you noticed that have you been able to connect with the existing Korean mortuaries and convalescent hospitals, or are you just kind of trying to limit your practice to just an established American non-Korean affiliated establishment?
Yeah. The mortuary setting up the arrangement is not depending on me. Is or family's request. So for until now, my experience is they arrange the non-Korean mortuary service. So they already knew that where they need to go. So, but if there is a chance for me to serve a Korean population, I love to see that what kind of resources there. And I also wanna. My hope is this hospice care is all like Medicare free from the government. So if you have some knowledge and need resources, I'm here to help you, and I can connect with what kind of hospice you can choose. So I'm here to help you. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Joshua. My question is, do you notice differences between how Korean culture and the Western culture they deal with death?
Oh, yeah. That's a really great question. Western culture about grieving is, I can see that there is a lot of community support. You can contact local area. You can find out grieving community. But in the Korean population, Koreans is hesitate to go to the community where he can support. I highly recommend, even there is some fear of your lack of language and cultural difference, but in the bottom we will die, and those who grieving process is really supportive. And I highly recommend, if you go there and just being present, and they will recognize how you grieving process, and you can just say a word and one sentence, that is okay. You just go there and feel the support. And I really highly recommend in Korean communities is dying well. It's just not about going another place, how you wanna cope with, and dying well at the end of life with the family. And there's lots of stories. There's beautiful story. Then waiting for the other place, and then all inviting the person, inviting the family, and just that sacred moment is really precious. So I highly recommend to be with them, as well as after death also go to like bereavement service or support group. Then you will be very comfort, and then you also face God is involving that group. Yeah, that's what I wanna recommend.
Okay, one last thing. Since I know that you're a Korean speaker, I did this with my last guest. Some words that you want to kind of impart upon to the Korean people in Korean.
Yeah. 예, 제가 솔직히 한국말이 훨씬 편하고 또 어떤 랭귀지의 베리어로 저도 많이 힘듦을 겪었는데, 한국 목사님들 정말 하스피스나 이런 패스토럴 케어에 어떤 콜링이 있으신 분은 교회뿐만이 아니라 다른 여러 분야의 사역을 할 수 있는 그 길이 열릴 수가 있으니까 꼭 교회에 국한하지 말고 군대가 될 수 있고 병원이 될 수 있고 기관 사역이 될 수 있고, 그런 리소스를 저도 이것을 체험해서 제가 리소스가 많이 이제 있으면 저도 연결해 드리고 싶고, 마지막으로 제가 I wanna say in English, coming next Thursday I have an interview in City of Hope, which is cancer specialized cancer center. I have an interview from 1 p.m. to 4:30 p.m. I just wanna ask you, if anyone listen to this podcast, pray for me. I wanna enter in, not only just for me, for those who are sick and those who are like a Korean community, so that I can I can glorify God and then inviting the Korean community into the space of a pastoral caring context.